They got Willa. They got my daughter. I need to find her.
From acclaimed director Paul Thomas Anderson.
You can save that girl.
Today, experience what is being called the best movie of the year.
This is the end of the line. Not for you.
Leonardo DiCaprio, Sean Penn, Benicio del Toro, Tiana Taylor, Chase Infinity.
Let's go!
One battle after another. Now playing only in theaters. Experience it in IMAX. Rated R. Under 17 animated without parent.
You can't hide.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso and Samra Origins by the Weekend Coffee Collection.
Introducing Samra Origins. My collaboration with Nespresso is a connection to my roots, to my mother, Samra. Coffee that hits the right notes. It transports you. Crafted with unique notes and bold, soaring flavors. Experience a taste that moves you. Nespresso and Samra Origins.
Discover more at Nespresso.com.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
You're listening to the Super Rugby Cymru podcast.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the SRC podcast. Joining me, Big M, as always, Double R Robberies and the one and only Bucky, Mr. John Harris. Good evening, gentlemen. How are we?
All good, sir. All good. How are we?
Yeah, good, mate. Tired, but we're all here. We're ready to go.
Yeah, we're all knackered. It's late. It's penultimate round of the season incoming. It's going to get tasty here, boys. So let's kick it off with what we saw last Thursday night. Pooler Park, Pontypool, Swansea. Swansea did a bit of resurgence. They've gone in 21-20 up at half time. So, John, seeing as though you've watched the game this morning, refresh our memories.
Yeah, I watched it before I got to work. Good game, I thought, actually. I was impressed with Swansea. They made a real good contest to this. Like the first 15, 20 minutes or so, Pontypool dominated. They were looking very comfortable. The forwards just, the scrum going well, Moore's going well, the carriers, like Morgan Allen, as usual, and other big carriers getting them good go forward. When I don't think Swansea, apart from where they managed to get the ball back from the first kickoff, touched the ball for the first 15 minutes, it felt like. And then when they did, Pontypool seemed to be comfortably defending the one-up runners that Swansea were sending. They just couldn't seem to get physically into the game to start with. But we started breaking up a bit then. And Harry Houston had an excellent game. He was causing all sorts of problems for them. And Ewan Temblett had a very good game, kicking well. I think they'll be a bit annoyed. I think this turned on one particular moment, although I could be oversimplifying it, but just before halftime when Swansea were winning 21-13 and the clock was red, and they've decided to run it rather than kick it off the park. And then they've ended up getting turned over. Pontypool have scored, and Swansea then had a man sin bin, so they could have gone in, 8 points up and come back out in the second half. But they've gone in at 1 point behind and a man down for the first 10 minutes of the second half. And Pontypool have come out and scored pretty quickly. Got back into the game. The forwards, really dominating, really. Although the Swansea scrum started getting better as the game went on, I thought. Roderick Hall was excellent for Pontypool. He'd been shipped in that day, I think. I don't think he'd had a training session with Pontypool. And he ended up with Serena game, man of the match. He was outstanding. His box kicking was brilliant. I think he even turned up with a tackle and turnover, an important part as well. but they kept going. Those ones, they come back in again, but they just left a little bit too much to do then. But they got a bonus point out of it, which I think feels fair. And yeah, they deserved something out of that game. They were very good, but I think over the full 80, Pontypool were better. So more good points for Pontypool, which I think that's secured 5th place for them now. I thought nobody's going to catch them in 5th. It's good for Swansea as well. They were much more competitive than I think. If this had been 2 or 3 months ago, I think that could have been an easy. Well, I think I'm sure the reverse fixture was televised and Pontypool blew them away a bit in that game. But Swansea, they stuck in there, and they were very good when it got a bit loose, I think. Cam Jones in prop impressed me as well. What a unit that boy is. That is a big old boy, and he's still 19, 20. I don't know, he's really young, but he looks good prospect. Yeah, so I think they'll be disappointed, Swansea, actually, because that was a bit down to their own game management. Before they should have just got that ball off the park half time when the clock was in red, and then they'd be coming out 15 on 15 and 8 points up. And they've come out then with a man down for the first 10 minutes, and then you put a 1 point game, and you can't do that at Pontypool. They're too good, especially at home.
Yeah.
But they've come away with something which I don't think they would have a couple of months ago, and they're looking much, much better. But they took the last bonus point off Pontypool as well, so they kept fighting to the end. So I'm impressed. I thought they did really well.
Yeah, Swansea have been a different animal this second half of the season. Since the post-Christmas game against yourself, Aberafan, we got to get them into every fixture as always. They've been ultra competitive. I think there's 4 wins in that time period, and we always talk about moments and momentum in rugby, and you bang on there, John. Just before half time, 8-point lead. It hurts, and especially when you're away from home. Even if you're only getting crowds of 500-600, even if you're lower down, you only get a crowd of 50 or 100. Having those people on the sideline shouting at you, even if it's your own family, it stirs you on, and it gives you that extra bit. So, Rob, Pontypool, should they have done more in this one?
They probably should have, because even before they'd scored that sort of try right on half time to get back into it, I sort of looking at the game going, how the fuck are Swansea doing this? They didn't seem to be any control. Calm down, Earthquake.
Oh, that's out there now.
Uncalled for.
Yeah. If anyone's watching this if anyone doesn't watch this on YouTube, please log in, because right now Big M is a spitting image of former wrestler Earthquake. You've got to do it. Anyway, back to the subject of Pontypool's game against Swansea. It was seemingly one of those ones where I never thought that Swansea had enough in them, especially when Pontypool did get that score then right before half time, to sort of truly take on the game. It sort of felt like Pontypool had all the control and were throwing away silly sort of phases and sort of silly scores, and that sort of made it a bit more difficult. I mean, the game was 43-10 in the reverse fixture, but Swansea were within a score at the hour mark, and this is a sort of a similar game in terms of still in it at the hour. But what we found was Pontypool just couldn't find that sort of bit of momentum. They couldn't find that way of just holding them out and sort of just tidying things up. And I think that's what Swansea fed off was untidy play. And like I said, it's this for them to take a point out of this game. Yeah, that's massive for them. And I said to stop the 6 points as well is how obviously that's a knock-on effect then for all the other sort of teams involved and what we see around that top 4. So yeah, I think Pontypool will be a bit disappointed in how sort of scrappy the game became, really, given how much they dominated the game, really. Probably for an hour of that game, they probably did actually control it and dominate it, but the scoreline wouldn't suggest that.
Yeah. Well, Pontypool do get a chance to put it right pretty early this week. They get the Thursday night game again. Swansea at home to RGC, so you're expecting something from them again. Okay, on to the next one, and it's Ebbw Vale at home to Carmarthen Quins. And as far as I'm concerned, the score is Carmarthen Quins 20, Ebbw Vale 7, because 5 of those tries should be just struck off. Terrible officiating. Absolutely does it. Obstruction, Maul has stopped, and they just say, "Oh yeah, just play on, boys, go for it." Joining in front of the carrier. Oh, and I can't remember what it is for one of the tries, but I'm pretty sure he's still rolling right now. He's gone for hours and hours and hours. Ugh, just terrible as a Quins fan here. But all seriousness, just watching the highlights, they look like they put up a pretty decent fight. They've come off a good win the past week, something that none of us, well, I say none of us, really expected. But it seems like the Ebbw Vale machine is going on and on. Now, John, you talk about Carmarthen having a good pack, and they do have a good pack, but up against Ebbw Vale, there seems to be a bit of a standard difference.
Yeah, that Ebbw Vale pack is huge. And they look like a big pack against other big packs. So they must be doing something right. They must be feeding them well. But I'd be a bit gutted for Carmarthen Quins because they were in that for 70 minutes. There's 4 tries in the last 10 minutes for Ebbw Vale. So that's a fair effort. Carmarthen Quins have gone up there and played with, but there's that quality in it that's a hard place to shield holders. No one's won up there this season, so that's kind of what you expect. Not so much expect, but it's gonna come. But to stay in it for 70 minutes is impressive from the Quins, and I'd like to think that'll give them confidence and something to build on going forward. If you can go up to Ebbw Vale and give them a game for 70 minutes, then they can go anywhere now, and gives anyone a game if you can do that. Obviously, but you've got to sustain that for the full 80 because you can, teams like Ebbw Vale can score 4 tries in 10 minutes. But Ebbw Vale are really in some good form now. I mean, it seems to change every week. We think the form teams are, but it's starting to look like Cardiff, Ebbw Vale are the 2 to beat now, and we're going to have some amazing semi-finals when the playoffs come round. I think if all these big teams got to play each other, if they go how we think. So I can't wait to see it, and hopefully Carmarthen Quins can take that 70 minutes and build on it for their next game, and maybe get some wins before the season finishes.
That would be great, especially the way the season has turned out for Carmarthen after their bright start early on. So, Rob, I do reluctantly have to pass this over to you. You're in your Ebbw Vale gear. So, are you going to hype them up, or are you just going to be a bit nonchalant by you?
No, do you know what? I think this is full credit to Quins. We've spoken about where their strengths lie and how you've got to stop Ebbw Vale from gathering momentum and scoring the tries that they've been they've been scoring all season. I mean, they've got 20 tries now from hookers this season. That's unheard of. But in fairness to Quins, their scrum was actually the better scrum. It was. Even deep into that second half and around changes, that the scrum was holding steady. They disrupted the set piece. And the first half, maybe not necessarily the third quarter in that second half, but that first half was probably the worst I've seen Ebbw Vale play all season. It's one of those, and that's full credit to Carmarthen and how they approached it. And it's rare that we said this season. A side has gone up to Ebbw Vale, they've taken them on at the set piece, and it's worked. And Quins have obviously visited Ebbw Vale in the cup, and it was a 6-pointer. It was an absolute hammering. So they've learned a lot since then. It was one of those games that they took chances when they come. I mean, the chip over the top for one of their tries off the sort of the turnover, bounced right to get the offload, and he's under the post. So it's everything at that stage is going really well. It looks like Ebbw Vale have at that stage lost. We've been mentioning it. You need 6 points to be keeping up with the others. Newport obviously gathering 6 points. Cardiff gathering 6 points. Llandovery with 5 at the time, obviously closing in on 6 as we were thinking. And then all of a sudden, you're thinking, shit, Ebervale might not be just dropping 1 point by year. They might be dropping 4 or 5. But it's seemingly, again, that rolling maul, Joe Franchi hat-trick again. That's the 3rd time this season, I think I've said that. You know, and that's the fourth set of hat-tricks by a hooker at Ebervale, I think, this season, if I've got my stats right. And then, like I said...
So the driving maul's going okay then?
Yeah, just about. But just to top it off, then Cam Davis with a nice silky run through the middle, just so the pack don't get all the credit. But yeah, it's a professional job in the end, and one that they say, right, that's 40 minutes. That first half, we forget about it. But Quins will take a lot from this game. Yeah, we've said that obviously last week was the first win since the autumn in the league, and sort of how they've had a few key players come back and are starting to score again. So. Yeah, I think Quins are going to be a tougher team to play in these playoffs than some may be thinking, especially because they'll be battle hardened. They're probably going to end up in that prelim round.
Yeah, they really are. They're currently sitting in 8th, so they will get a home tie if they can stay there in that initial preliminary round. So on to our next tie, and it's the closest one of the round. Llandovery at home to Aberafan, finished 33-28, but didn't seem like Aberafan were really in this until, right at the death. So I'm coming straight back to you, John, as our man from Aberafan. Walk us through it.
Well, they were pretty much in it in the first half as well. I think it was only 5 points, yeah. 5 points at half time, and it's finished 5 points. So I'm running out of things to say because it feels like I'm saying the same thing every week. That's another 2 losing bonus points. So we're picking points up. We can say that. So if we can win tomorrow with that win out game in hand, it will put us in the top 6. But we haven't won a league game now since 21st of December. When we beat Swansea just before Christmas, and it's not good enough anymore. No, we're not used to losing this many games in a season, and especially not at home as well. I'm used to seeing a full season, year and a half without losing a home game. But Llandovery have come out scored early. It's a similar pattern it seems. Yeah, but either we come out score early and then. Just some defense just seem to go wandering in defense for a bit and just let go. The other team will come out score early. We'll go and score a couple and go in front and think, oh, maybe this is going to be a good day now. And then just before half time, we'll find a way to let them back in, which is what happened again. Lee Reese being quality as he usually is, from what I've read. A few opportunistic tries, I think, as well. I've only seen the highlights of this one, but we've got a few interceptions, I think. I really wish I knew what to say anymore, but if you'd offered this to me before, probably I would have, 2 points away to the champions and the cup holders. I thought, great. So I suppose from that point of view, it is something quite impressive to come away from Llandovery with 2 points. Not everyone does that, but we've got to get some wins from somewhere. That's what's getting frustrating now. Is this seems to be the same pattern every game. They'll be in it to start with, and then just fall asleep defensively, and then have a little rally at the end to make it seem close in the final score. Excuse me. So I'm just sick of seeing us lose now, to be honest. So yeah. Not as analytical as it could be today, because this is I'm just getting a bit annoyed now talking because
yeah,
I'm picking this every week, and it's just starting to go. And I didn't realize until I checked how long it had been since we won a league game. So, but at least they've kept. It's 2 injury time tries to get those bonus points. So that's a bit of heart from that. They've kept fighting till the end to get some points out of this game, which could be all important to finish in that top 6. We've still got 3 games to go. Well, we have, but I think Bridgend have only got 1 or 2. So, but we need to win. We need to win a game somewhere, because that's what I'm worried about now. We can't just keep picking up an odd bonus point or 2, because it's not going to be enough when we're going to have to go through these stupid wildcard playoffs. So it's still in our own hands. With 1 win, and we're in that top 6. But it's just, I'm really starting to get a bit worried now that it's not going to come. This tomorrow night against Podpool is massive. It's so important, and I hope they need to stop going off on a wander halfway through a game and giving themselves too much work to do.
Yeah. So the one thing I think Aberafan can be happy with is, and not the fact that you're hurt, but the emotion you've got there. The fans, you care so much, and that's these are the fans.
And we know they're better than this, and that's the annoying thing, because when they play well, they play bloody well. So that's where we can see how good they can play. So we know that they're better than this.
So I did manage to catch up a bit with Jason Hyatt. So just on this game, we conceded too many penalties in the first half against Llandovery, which stopped us from building momentum. We were much more disciplined in the second half, which allowed us to build pressure and score some excellent tries. That was really as much as he wanted to say on the game, and I'm guessing from your view of it, it's more or less the same. So, Rob, the Llandovery machine is not in full flight, but it is kicking again.
Yeah, it's one of those ones. They've been a bit up and down with performances this sort of past month or so, maybe 2 months. But I think Jason summed it quite well with the discipline in that first half. It just wasn't a good enough first 40 minutes. They didn't lay any foundations, and even though there was 5 points in it at the break, the game probably told a slightly different story, and they're allowing teams to get away. And as I said, Lee Reese yet again is the orchestrator of all of this. He's the totemic front man, leading everything good that Llandovery seems to do. You don't tend to notice him when they're playing well as much because he blends in with such a quality side. But as soon as they dip, it's like he's that one consistent factor that doesn't matter how good the team are playing. He's like, right, let's pick everybody up, and he gets them back on track. And that's the way that he is, and that's why he's played well over 300 games for the club now. But yeah, Llandovery will be semi-pleased, I think, with this sort of game. I think they'll be disappointed that they haven't controlled it as nicely as they could have, and they've let it slide. They've let a good 6-pointer slide, I'll be honest, especially considering it's home and sort of the position they were in that last 5 minutes. They've obviously now dropped to 4th, which can have big ramifications depending on who you want to play. And again, they probably, if you speak to Euros Evans, he probably doesn't care who he plays, especially at the semi-final stage. I think everyone wants that home tie, so they're coming to you. But for whether you play at the moment Ebervale or Cardiff, I don't think it particularly bothers anybody, really. I mean, Llandovery have got the same pitch as Cardiff, so you could say they probably favour that. So, yeah, I think it's one of those ones. I think Llandovery maybe they're seeing themselves as sort of safe. It'd be interesting to see what sort of reaction we see at Llandovery this weekend. Obviously, massive shock loss to Swansea. Bit of a quiet performance at times. Inconsistent 80 minutes against Aberafan. So it'd be interesting to see, because Llandovery are the sort of side that like to build up for the big moments, and obviously now, like you said, they've only got 2 games left. We'll have the prelim round before they get back into action, so they'll want to start coming back up the other side. So yeah, I'm interested to see where Llandovery's form rises, because they're probably the question mark team in that top 5 at the moment in terms of where we think they are. You're on mute, Oh no, technical difficulties, everybody.
No, I'm on mute. I'm not even looking what I'm doing anymore. No, like you said, it's going to be a big one this weekend. Llandovery are going to Cardiff Arms Park.
Are they still allowed to play there?
I'm going to say yes at the minute. I know the Cardiff Swansea varsity game's been moved.
Yeah, that got moved, didn't it?
Moved to the Millennium, but I'm sure a big Big Daddy
Yeah,
WIU will take care of things
so at the
before the
moment,
weekend.
nothing changes. The press conference tonight, nothing changes with how Cardiff RFC will operate for the foreseeable. So they'll be seeing out the fixtures, playing the same way that they always do, and hopefully coming up short to Ebervale.
And
I
this,
hopefully all doing well.
Yeah, I
and
hope they
that's
are going to stick. I hope they are going to stick around. Just want to just put that out there.
and this now segues nicely into a Cardiff fixture away at Bridgend. Quite recently losing this fixture in the cup, but a 29-14 win at the Brewery Field. Now, if you've been watching the news lately, some might have seen there's been speculation about the Bridgend forwards coach joining one of the professional regions. Now, I don't know about you boys, but
Oh, I did see the
I,
headline. I didn't read it.
I haven't seen a great deal out of the Bridgend pack this season. If anything, it's their backs that have been keeping them in games. And it seems, unfortunately, that their backs just didn't have enough to compete with Cardiff, who are getting close to being fully loaded again. You know, Elijah Evans, back from 20s, a few boys back from 20s, Harry Wild as well. So it seems that, like I've just mentioned, Llandovery get kicking into gear. Cardiff again, all the boys back at the right time. Tom Bowen is featuring more now. He's out to 20s. He's away from Cardiff seniors. So this Cardiff side is really becoming what we saw at the start of the season when they were flying high. So I'll switch it up a bit. Rob, I'm coming to you first this time round.
Yeah, do you know, it's one of those ones. I was favouring Cardiff before we saw any team news. Team news comes out. You've got the likes of Ben Burnell is back for Bridgend, always a boost, but very much the same. No Zach O'Driscoll up front. Cardiff, as you say, you know, the likes of Stefan Manuel, Harry Wild, Tom Bowen, Elijah. All of a sudden, all of these players are fully back in that back line. You know, you've got Mackenzie Martin seems to be sticking around the Super Rugby Cymru at the moment. But 51 minutes into this game, Bridgend score to make it 15-14, you know, bringing the deficit back down to a point. And it's sort of, again, it's that little bit of depth. The bench just doesn't have that depth that Cardiff have. It's that bit of quality, that, you know, bit of oomph up front. That, I'll be honest, at the moment they started the season with a blistering backline. Bridgend's backline has looked relatively blunt, yeah, in comparison in sort of recent weeks and months. And they need to try and get that bit of danger back in sort of in how they go about their business. So they let Cardiff off this one. This was looking like I won't say a 4-point win because at 51 minutes, you've got a long time to go. But this is looking like something that Cardiff were going to drop points in. So, you know, in the next 25 minutes, Cardiff wrap up a few more tries. And I'll be honest, there was far too much open space. I mean, you only got to look at Tom Bowen's break. He gets dragged down right down the 5 meter line, and Joe Goodchild basically just takes the offload in miles of space. You know, there's not that desire of let's get back. One person's made the tackle. Obviously, everyone else is expecting Tom to be going in, but he hasn't. And then no one's putting enough pressure on that back line and to try and keep him out. And you know, as we've just spoken about Aberavon and how close they are in terms of dropping in or out of this top six. Now, Bridgend hold that top six at the moment. They don't hold all the aces because of Aberavon have got the games in hand, albeit you could argue more difficult fixtures. But they have, you know, it's in Aberavon's court. But they've got, at the moment, a 3-point lead. Now, if you just take one bonus point out of this game, that's a 4-point lead. With, you know, that's a big change of form, backing yourself in these last two games, because they're backing themselves. Scott Baldwin was adamant just not this Thursday gone, the week before, when they played on the telly, that their aim was still to win the league. But if they want to win this league, they got to get serious. And I think Scott's got to get serious with his aims. And they got to start tidying a few things up and put a stamp on the game, because at the moment, they're just not doing it. You know, they got such a good squad on paper. And yes, their fly half injury troubles have sort of held them back, and Ryan Wilkins is now gone down under. But at the moment, this Bridgend side just seemed to lack that bit of leadership, that bit of, you know, that extra mile to go. and that's what's missing. I don't know whether it was the fact that they lost their captain or there's a few senior players been missing in and around the game. I don't know, but yeah, at the moment they don't seem like a side who are putting much pressure on teams or enough to consistently get a performance and a result.
Yeah, I think we can all pretty much agree with that. So, John, anything different? But they, a Cardiff happy? Like, they got the 5 tries, they got all 6 points on the margin.
Yeah. Well, it's job done in that sense, isn't it? To apologise to everyone because I haven't actually seen the highlights for this one. I couldn't get the internet to work properly to watch them.
Did he just say at work? Did he just say at work?
No, I couldn't get it to work.
Couldn't get
work
it
at work.
But it's almost pretty paint by numbers for Cardiff when you look at it. Like, I know 15-7 first half, 14-7 second half. So they 4 tries. They've got their 6 points. It's job done away from home. So I think they're going to be pleased with that. But yeah, like I say, Bridgend were in that up until an hour when Cardiff have scored their 3rd and 4th tries. You could even say up to 77 minutes because there was still only been 1 score in it, really. So Bridgend know they can beat Cardiff as well. They have done it, although maybe not the same Cardiff side that they got put out on the weekend. But they can. It's still in their own hands, I think, because at the moment I don't see where Abraham's wins are coming from. So Bridgend probably. I still think they might be in a slightly better position to finish in 6th, although I'd like to think that's not true. But they'll take some heart from that because they've given them a game, and a much stronger Cardiff side a game there for a good hour, 77 minutes really, before it's really got put to bed. So I think they'll take some confidence from that going into their last couple of games, knowing they've got to win them because, like I say, nobody wants to be in these extra game wildcard playoffs. So yeah,
and you talk about the that final 6th position, but there, Bridgend have to go to Carmarthen this weekend, and a simple 4-0 win, league points now win for Carmarthen will take them into that 6th spot because they would have more wins than Bridgend on the same amount of points. So it is really tightening up. After the horrid run that Carmarthen have had, the fact that they're still in the hunt for this position is quite incredible. So, final game of the round, Newport travelled up to RGC. Now, for those who listened last week, and I'm not sure if Jack Lloyd listened, we spoke about whether or not he was the answer for Newport at 10. Another 10 actually appeared on the team sheet, Sam Potter, who's currently signed with the Dragons Academy. But Jack Lloyd, 16 points, 2 tries, 3 conversions. I think he made a bit of a statement to you there, Rob. What do you say?
Never heard of him.
Never heard of him.
No, in fairness, he's had one of those games, and Newport have probably played again one of their few 80-minute sort of performances. They probably would have liked to have tightened it up in defence a little bit, but ultimately these days, with the way that the game is going, if you can get that sort of enough of a lead and you're confident in your attacking and your kickers can convert 75% of their kicks, then you're probably starting to open up a 15-point gap, which is what Newport want. They've jumped up to 3rd, and given where we've been praising Llandovery all season and been a bit unsure about Newport, it seems unusual that all of a sudden Newport are above the Drovers in the table. So I know Tyrone was relatively happy with this one, and I think he should be. This is a big period now for Newport. They've got a big Gwent derby coming up. They'll have a likely away tie in the quarterfinals. In the semi-finals. Should they get there, and if we all look around what we think will happen. But yeah, I think that, again, like I've said about Llandovery peaking at the right time, I think this is Newport. Maybe this is the sort of the performance they needed to get him kick-started for a bit of a late season run.
Yeah. So I did manage to catch up with Ty as well. I might have to paraphrase a bit later, but on this game. He's excellent performance again from the boys. There's a lot of changes from the team the week before due to injuries. Took them about 20, 30 minutes to find a little bit of rhythm, but then the second half, just like they did against Pontypool, scored some beautiful tries, played with intent. He's really pleased with how they problem solved at half time and got away with a win and 6 points. So Ty is happy. Into third. That does mean a Gwent derby in one of the playoff rounds, which I believe would be the semi-final, should it come to that. So
well, at the moment, they'd be a Gwent derby quarter-final. Because of Pontypool.
It's really, really heating up. And in terms of Gwent rugby, top end Gwent rugby, Pontypool, Newport, Ebbw Vale, that's the top end of Gwent rugby as far as you boys are concerned. And I'll be quiet for this bit. It is looking really, really tasty. So, John, RGC, 3 penalty kicks in our second half. That's all they managed to muster. I know we all put them 10th in our league placings at the beginning of the season, but have they learnt anything this year? Are they kicking on at all?
Well, I think if they were, I would have expected that game to be a bit closer, to be honest, because they've been so good up on their ground this season. And the bigger teams everyone's really struggled to go up to RGC and try and get something. So I was a little bit surprised when I saw the score. I think I still expected a Newport win, but I didn't expect them to get 6 points because RGC have been so good this year. It's taken a couple of late tries just to get Newport away, mind, right at the end. In the 73rd and 77th minute. But yeah, you need to. Newport do seem like they're coming into. They all seem to be timing it quite well now, these top 4 sides. But we've said that all season with Newport, when they're as good as anyone in this league when they can string a full game together. And that's what they've seemed to have done here, because that's a tough place to go up there to come away with 6 points. That's showing some intent going into the playoffs now. So it's going to be. I think these playoffs are going to be so fascinating and so good. There's some amazing matchups to come. I think RGC will be a little disappointed. I think with the way their home form's gone this year, they'd probably be expecting to have kicked on and think, right, well, nobody comes up here now and wins. So to not get anything out of this game, they'll be disappointed with that, I think.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And that 26-41 loss for RGC brings us to a close for this past week's result. So if you've managed to make it this far, thank you very much for listening, watching, however you're taking in your SRC podcast content. Please like, share, subscribe, leave a review, leave a comment. 5-star reviews only, please. You slate us as much as you want. Just put the 5 stars. It's very important. So this brings us on to this week's games, and a bit of a tradition now that both teams haven't been named for the Thursday night game, so we will give them as long as we can. So let's start with Cardiff Llandovery. Maybe an early taster for one of the semi-finals. Cardiff did do a number on Llandovery in the league. However, Drovers beat them in the cup. It seems that whenever they've had an important contest over the past couple of seasons, at least I believe in the final and the semi-final of the league now, last 2 years, Llandovery have come up trumps, and they've shown even against the cup win over Ebbw Vale, when it comes to it, they know how to win. My problem here for Llandovery is the fact of there is 2 games left. They are 9 points ahead of Pontypool in 5th, and looking at who Pontypool play in, are they going to get 10 points and overtake them? I don't think they are. And realistically, like Rob said earlier, I don't think Eros really is bothered who his team plays. So it's more of a case of just getting the boys ready for these finals now. And with that can come slip ups. So I will always back Llandovery just because of how good they are. But I am a bit worried that they might try tinker a little bit, see if anyone can break into the that best 15, that best 23.
Yeah, do you know what? I think this was one of those ones that I think I called it Llandovery to win their home tie, Cardiff to win theirs. Obviously, when Llandovery did the job, Cardiff did the job up at Church Bank, I was thinking, I know what's going to happen here. Llandovery going to go back down and they're going to be angry and do the job. But at the moment, Llandovery's form has just dipped away slightly. And you've only got to look at this Cardiff side, and I just don't see weaknesses in it at the moment. I saw weaknesses in this Cardiff side 6 weeks ago. I did. It sounds ridiculous for a side that put the first 50-pointer on Llandovery at Church Bank in nearly 20 years, but you could sort of pick apart little gaps where you thought they might become weak. So I look at that side now and think, no. And I think Cardiff at home now are that different prospect. I don't think Llandovery are quite in summer camp mode and waiting for the playoffs, but to that extent, there's going to be a drubbing or anything like that. But yeah, at the moment, I'm leaning Cardiff again with this one. But it'd be very interesting if Llandovery do take it, because all of a sudden, let's say Cardiff take a point, Ebervale, Newport to the game, that top four can close right up literally this week. Could close right up.
Yeah, and Cardiff win. Something we'll come on to a little bit is the fixture congestion for Ebu could be so important. John, Cardiff Llandovery, where's it going? If you don't say Llandovery, you're not an Aberafan fan.
Oh, my gut's telling me this is Cardiff. I think they've just been so good lately. They're hitting their top form now at the perfect time. But like you said, Llandovery know how to win these big games. So might they be saving? Might they decide? No, we'll just save a little bit for the playoffs now. We're not going to be, we're in that top four. We're probably not going to catch the top two, but we're not going to be caught from behind either. So no, might they think of just resting one or two key players just to make sure they've got a full strength squad going into these playoffs? I don't know, but it's an option to them. That's all I'm thinking. Bookies think Cardiff for this one as well. On Dragon Bet, they've got Cardiff 2-5, Llandovery 7-4, with the Llandovery +7 on the handicap at 10-11. I think that's about what I'm thinking as well. Maybe 7-10 for Cardiff for this one. I just think they're the team to beat, I think, at the moment in this league and to the end of the season. I think this is a better Cardiff side than Llandovery played last year. And Llandovery don't quite seem to be where they were. So I think Cardiff for me.
Cardiff. Oh, it's a swing to Cardiff in this one. Next up, we are still down west in our thinking. Carmarthen get to host Bridgend. Now, for me, the last 2 weeks have shown me that Carmarthen have still got a hell of a lot of fight in them. The win over RGC and then really sticking in with Ebu for as long as they did. And I know we kind of had a bit of a niggle at Bridgend's pack, but this is now a pressure game because top six is literally on the line. Like I said earlier, league points, 4-0 win, 5-1, 6-2, however you want it. A 4-point advantage for Carmarthen Quins means they overtake Bridgend, and Bridgend drop down into 7th, 8th, wherever they land. So this is becoming even more important now as we come into these last couple of rounds. So Carmarthen win for me. John, you get first crack at this.
Well, the bookies have got Carmarthen as favourites for this one, 4-5. Bridgend even money. Only 2-point head start they give him Bridgend in the handicap, so they think it's going to be close. And I think this is going to be close. This could be a real good game. I could feel this would be an absolute cracker. I think I'm leaning more towards Carmarthen as well at home. I think they're just going to have a little, and they're starting to find, like you said, a bit of fight again, a bit of form. They've got that win. They've got a decent performance, even though it ended up being a big loss. They're much better, and I think Carmarthen to scrape this one, I think, but it's going to be a cracking game and close one.
Oh, Rob, is it a clean sweep for Carmarthen Quins?
It is. I think Quins have given me enough confidence this past 2 games that they can deal with strong packs and strong sides, but also they got a bit of game management about them. I mean, yes, they crumbled a bit in the last 10 minutes against Ebervale, but they made some pretty good decisions for the majority of that game. It wasn't a big drop off in terms of, 20, 30 minutes or anything like that. So, we're at the park. It's an up and down field, but it's one of those. It's a really tough one to call. It is. As much as I am favouring Quins and I'm backing Quins on this one, it's sort of, do Quins' pack get above the Ravens' back line? If we see good weather, which I think we're scheduled to see, you
Yeah, I
can
think so.
equally see Bridgend with Ben Burnell and people like that back in the squad, trying to run the ball really nicely. And yeah, it'd be interesting to see how Quins deal with that. Obviously, they dealt with RGC, who play a very similar way the other week. Then they've had to go to Ebervale, they've had to deal with a different problem. So I think we could very well see a performance like that RGC game, and that's why I think Quins for the win.
Yeah, and another thing that is probably important of note, it is an EPCR weekend, and Ospreys are the only team still in action. So you'd imagine that even though he hasn't played very much rugby for them this season, someone like Charlie Titcombe is probably likely to get a bit of game time. I know we saw Archie Hughes this past weekend. They formed a bit of a dream team last year. Even with Llandovery, Cardiff, they could see a few more parachute players come in, and this could be the massive difference. So Swansea against RGC at St Helens. RGC not really playing their best form of rugby on the last grass surface at St Helens. I believe we're all being told, and with Swansea's upturn form, I can't see past Swansea for this one. John, take us through it.
Yeah, I quite like Swansea for this one as well. They're really starting to play some good stuff and finding a bit of form. Bookies have got them slight favourites for this one, 4-5. Similar to the last game, even money for RGC with just 2-point head start they're giving them, RGC on the handicap. But I got a feeling this could be a little bit more for Swansea. I hope the way they're going. I might even go 5 points for Swansea on this one. Not necessarily 6, but I think they could get a 5-pointer out of this one. But then again, saying that, but RGC, if we actually look at the table, they won 6 games. They've won more games than most of the teams around them. Than Swansea, Carmarthen, Bridgend, and Aberystwyth. They're just not getting any bonus points, it seems. So they're capable of winning a game, but I fancy Swansea for this one. I really do. And 5 points, I'm going to say as well.
So we've had one clean sweep. Is there going to be another, Rob, Swansea for the win, or will it be RGC?
Oh, it is. Do you know what?
I
think this is a form book sort of prediction by you. RGC typically don't travel well. They haven't played well at home against Newports. They didn't play that well against Quins, especially in the last 40. They go into St Helens, a place where Swansea is starting to gather a few wins now. They are looking good as well. Like I said, they're taking it to teams like Pontypool, Llandovery, Ebervale in recent weeks. Even though they haven't got 2 of those games, they didn't walk away with a win. They took it to them up front, and those are some of the best packs in the league. They're mixing it up. Harry Houston, Matthew Aubrey are probably some of the best backs we've seen this month, this past 4 weeks, recently. So that they really do have a bit of a full package at the moment. Players like Dan Jermaine are back off under 20s duty, of sort of added a fresh little boost for him. So yeah, I think this is Swansea's opportunity now to sort of say, well, actually, all that talk about this being a league that's wide apart is actually total bullshit, and that Swansea are actually part of that sort of, I don't like to say the bottom five, but that sort of five there are all interchangeable. So I think this is their moment to step up. I mean, they'll want a bit of bragging rights now. They want to close that gap and sort of say, well, actually, yes, we're going to be travelling away at this stage of the season in the prelims. They know that, but can they build a bit of momentum for that? And then B, can they win that and get to a quarter final? So yeah, this is another clean sweep and yet another home prediction by myself.
Now, I'm not sure if Rob is going to go all home with this next current game. So we're on to Sunday. We're on to a Gwent derby yet again. Newport at home to Ebbw Vale. Now, Newport, bit of an uptick. They've had a full performance, albeit against RGC. But the critical thinking in this for me is Ebbw Vale have got 3 games left. They've got Newport, Aberavon, and Swansea. So, and no disrespect to Aberavon and Swansea, they are probably the easier games to win, and those two would secure a top 2 space and possibly hope that Llandovery do a bit of a favour and beat Cardiff, or even Pontypool do a favour in the final round. So I think we might see it, not a weekend, maybe a rotated Ebbw Vale squad for this one. So I'm going to back Newport, and I'm going to make Rob really, really wait to explode. And I'm going to go to John first.
Oh, I don't know where to go on this one now, actually. Bookies have got this very close as well. Same odds as we've had from the last couple of games, but the other way around, they've actually got Ebbw Vale the slight favourites for this one. Newport even money, Ebbw Vale 4-5. 2-point head start for Newport with the handicap. Ooh. Yeah, I feel I should be. My head tells me to say Ebbw Vale, but something's. Do we know where this is? This at that silly ground, or is it going to be a Dave Parade?
Dave
Rodney,
Parade.
yeah.
Dave Parade on Newport Marathon Sunday.
It's going to be full.
I could. I'm fancying. Something's telling me I fancy Newport for this one. In a close. I know. In a close. It's going to be a close one, or it could be the game of the weekend, I think. But I'm going to go for a Newport very close win on this one.
You know what? I've just realised this. We've got the top 4 up against each other in this round. We've got Cardiff, Llandovery, and Newport Ebbw Vale. What a time! What a round to put it in.
Well, do you know what? It's actually fallen. Before I move on to my thoughts on Newport Ebbw Vale, you've got first versus fourth, third versus second. Aberavon Pontypool is literally 5th versus 7th. Queen's Bridgend, again, 6 versus 8. Everybody, and on all of these games, you've got the Aberavon pool of games about top 6. Cardiff, Llandovery, Ebbw Vale, Newport's on about top 4, top 2. Queen's Bridgend, again, top 6. So there's so much on these games this week. But yeah,
big round.
I think I see where you're coming from, Em, in terms of how do Ebbw prioritise now. They've got 3 games, Sunday, Wednesday, and Saturday. What an absolute farce of an end to the season around all of that. But I think the big one for them is Chippy is very determined around winning every game. He doesn't like to give anything away, certainly in a Gwent derby such as this. It's a big opportunity to try and seal the deal and sort of like put your stamp on it right before that sort of midweek game. I think what we will see is some Dragons involvement. Harry Wilson was away last week, so it'd be interesting to see if he comes back into the squad now he's back in the country. Obviously, Ethan Phillips is back fit in midfield, so that gives him a few rotations. And I think Dom Franchi may actually be coming back towards the end of his concussion spell as well. So there's a few little things they're going to look at, but I still think that the way that Ebervale are playing, yes, it's on Dave Parade, and I mentioned this the other week around Newport will want to be playing fast, expansive rugby. They did the same against Pontypool and sort of play that explosive game. I think this will revert back to a bit of, blood, guts and thunder and sort of around that, kicking that territorial game, that the set piece, the mauls coming into play a lot more than we saw the Pontypool Newport game at Dave Parade. And that's why I'm interrupting this all home ties this round. I'm saying
There we
everybody's
go.
going to win.
Okay. Now that we've had our thoughts, I'm going to come back to my little conversation with Ty, and I'm going to finish off what he said earlier. So there's a lot of pressure from the teams below, and last week was an excellent win against Pontypool. Obviously now RGC as well. So we're building some good momentum, which will lead into Sunday at Rodney Parade. Obviously, it's a game that means a lot, particularly with what's happened this week with Brian Jones passing away. So it'll be an emotional day, and we want to make sure we do him right, because I know we'll be looking down and saying a few words of wisdom for the game. It's a big game, although top four is obviously our aim, and we're looking forward to playing Ebervale and hopefully going to get third time lucky this season. Now, we've made our predictions, but adding that bit in, you even more worried now, Rob?
No, I couldn't give a fuck.
Oh my, second one. Oh my God, we're gonna have to put a disclaimer in this.
It'd be like an old dial-up bloody Wi-Fi. No, this call be doop boop 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 boop.
Okay. We've pushed it as long as we can. Thursday night is upon us, and Aberavon, you have let us down. You've let us down. There is no team news from Aberavon, just Pontypool, and we've been critical of Pontypool social media all season, and they've trumped you by year, John. So
No.
I mean, just for that reason alone, I'm just going to go Pontypool, just be quick and just say,
by the law of boxy shithousery.
Yeah. Well, they get their trumping in now. So it's going to be their last.
Oh, he's going for it. Okay, hold on. Calm down.
Where's this confidence come from? You were saying
because they have to. Anything is not acceptable anymore.
John, hold on.
They don't have a choice.
Stop talking, John.
Now. There's no teams being named. They're surprising everybody.
Okay, it's coming to Rob first. We're gonna wind John up and just see how much he comes out with now. So come on, let's see if we can add more to this.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a similar sort of argument to the Ebervale game. Again, Aberavon plays Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday. The day extra, obviously ahead of the Ebervale tie, and the Ebervale game is at Tag, which is going to help Aberavon out a little bit more. But I don't know at the moment. Aberavon has still got a few key players away. I think what we're looking at here is Pontypool trying to close this one out. Pontypool probably one of the few sides that actually haven't got anything to play for. In terms of, they're not going to catch top four. They're not going to drop out the top six. So it's a difficult one for them. They can probably afford to play around a little bit and have a bit of pressure taken off them by the coaching staff. I think Aberavon, as John's already alluded to tonight, are in a bit of a rut and desperately need results, especially with some, Quinn's Bridgend. Unless they draw, someone's taking big points out of that game. And, all of a sudden Aberavon's task becomes harder. But yeah, I just can't see past Pontypool at the moment in terms of where the two sides are. But it'd be interesting to see the Aberavon sides around, are there certain individuals back fit? Who are they going to play? Because, again, typically around this Wednesday fixture, neither Ebervale or Aberavon have typically had large allocations of regional players, but are we going to see that increase now this week, as we should, for both sides, to help them out a little bit around depth, around the ridiculous nature of playing 3 games inside a week or 8 days, depending on who you are. But yeah, I can't see past Pontypool, unfortunately. I just can't wait for John's rant.
Okay, and that's it. We're out of time. Okay, John, come on, my friend. You've got to give us something rememberable. Rememberable? What word am I on about? Remarkable. Go for it.
Well, the bookies are not often wrong, are they? But they will be, because they've got same price again as 4 out of these 5 matches. Aberravon even money, Pontypool 4 to 5, and a 2-point head start for Aberravon in the handicap.
Are you trying to tell us that the bookies have been a little bit lazy with the SRC?
Oh, this is just closest round of the season so far, apparently. I'm going Aberravon win on this one, because they have to. They've got to win a game. They've got so close with some of these games. 5 out of the last 6, they've lost by less than a score. But also in 5 out of those 5 games, 5-6 games, they've conceded half their season's points. So the defence that started so well at the start of the season is it's still like 4th or 5th best defence, but most of that has come from the last 5 games. So that's where they need to sort out. They just need to stop leaking tries. And I know they can go toe-to-toe with that Pontypool pack. And they've just got to go for it, I think. They've just got to go out there now and try, and they can score tries. So they've just got to... I can see it being a back-and-forth one, unfortunately, which I don't normally like Aberravon getting into, because they usually come out on the worst end of them. But I'm backing the boys. They've got to win this game. So I'm going to Aberravon win on this one.
Happy days. That's what we like to hear from a team that hasn't won in almost 3 years. Only joking, my friend. Well, 2. Back from Jason, he's talking about the weather forecast being pretty good. Pitch is in great condition. He's looking for some fast, open, and expansive rugby. So
is he not watching Aberravon this weekend?
Obviously not.
No.
Oh, bit harsh. Okay, we'll end it there. No fisticuffs. I know you two are a couple of miles apart, but I got a feeling John would get in his car. All right then, lads. That is it for this week. I think we're around the hour mark. Sounds like we've done a good job. Again, if you're listening, you've watched, you made it this far, like, share, subscribe, review, comment.
Fair play to you.
Do what you do. And we'll do it all again next week. And if someone's got a black eye, we will not mention it. All right. Thank you boys for joining me as always. And until next time.
Bye, guys. Super.
That was the Super Rugby Cymru podcast. Please rate, review and share us on socials if you can, and join us again next week for more of the same. And until then, enjoy your rugby.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
If you're shopping while working, eating, or even listening to this podcast, then you know and love the thrill of a deal. But are you getting the deal and cash back? Rakuten shoppers do. They get the brands they love, savings, and cash back. And you can get it too. Start getting cash back at your favorite stores like Levi's, Plow & Hearth, Adidas, Sephora, and Neiman Marcus. Stack sales on top of cash back and feel what it's like to know you're maximizing the savings. And it's easy to use. And you get your cash back sent to you through PayPal or check. The idea is simple. Stores pay Rakuten for sending them shoppers, and Rakuten shares the money with you as cash back. Download the free Rakuten app or go to Rakuten.com to start saving today. It's the most rewarding way to shop. That's Rakuten. Rakuten.com.